Hey guys, welcome on this new class for DMP World. So today I'm gonna try to answer to the question how to set up a 3D scene in Nuke and prep everything for the projection and the DMP. So to do this I'm going to prep something in Maya first to set up a layout based on few basic geometries like a house and a sphere and maybe another cube. And then I'm gonna bring everything in Nuke with an animated camera and see how we could eventually prep the work so we can texture everything between Photoshop and Nuke. So I'm gonna start with putting few geometry in place. So let's say that we have a cube and we're just going to move few vertices here just to say alright, that's a house. Let's put in this mode. I'm going to put it there. I'm going to now put few trees made of sphere. So we have quickly some sort of a 3D scene. Trees are here. What could we do? Let's create another cube, some sort of a gate. I'm gonna create another one, just rotate it. Something like that. And actually maybe I'm going to put it there like this, duplicate that, put it there. Alright, and let's say we have another small one here, some sort of a garage like here. Okay, actually let's try to make it real, that'd be even better. So we just need now a ground. Here we are. And I'm very happy. I've done like a 3D scene very quickly here. And that's what I'm gonna try to bring into Nuke and see how then, based on that, I should set up the work to texture it properly. So let's say I want to recreate this now back in Nuke. First of all, I'm just going to create a camera as well because we want to consider that we are in a shot position. So I'm going to create the camera 1. Let's go through camera 1. Let's set up everything to, let's say, 200 frames. And I'm going to set up the camera here. I'm going to move it from there and say, alright, that's the first frame. I'm gonna put a key here, and the last frame is gonna go there. So now I have a camera move, which is an ugly camera move, but we don't really care, it's just for the purpose. Let's bring the outliner here. So now we have a bunch of elements here, a bunch of geometry, and a camera with an animation. So how to export all of this? First, we're gonna select all the geometry, and I'm going to export it as an FBX file. So FBX export. I'm just going to go into here, and I'm going to call it layout export. It's done. Now I'm going to export the camera. So it's always a bit tricky to export the camera from Maya to Nuke using FBX, but now we can use the Alembic file. So you just select your camera here and you go to Alembic cache here, export selection to Alembic, and then you're gonna export it same place. So DMP World, and you call it camera. It's going to go through the timeline and create the the file for you. So now let's jump onto Nuke. So that's the brand new Nuke here, and we're gonna start by bringing like the camera. So just create a camera node here, then go to file, read from file, just go there. Sorry, it's there, and we take the camera, ABC, yes. So we have a little A here, which means that we've got the animation ready. If I go there, I have the animation, and if I go through the 3D view here, I can double check that the animation is fine. So far I'm going to 1 to 100, which is less than what I want to go to 200, so I just go to settings. So I press S when my mouse is here, and here I put 200, and now I'm gonna have the full camera move here. So that's already the first thing. I have my camera. Then I need to bring the geometry, so I'm gonna create a read geo node, and here I'm gonna bring my geometry, which is there, layout fx. So if I go here, I see that, oh, I have only the big house, and if I go there, I have all the different things I've created. So if you want to bring all of them at the same time, just need to click all objects here, and now I have my layout completely here. And if I go through the camera now, I can double check that my camera move is matching what I have in Maya. So that's great. That's a good sign. It means that everything is aligned. So that's good. That's what I wanted. So I start to have some sort of a 3D environment in Nuke already. But now I'm gonna go a bit further than that and just show you how you would do to texture it and do the projection for that. So first we need to have a look at different things. Here I have, actually that's frame 1. I have something strange. Frame 1, what happened frame 1? Yeah, well, let's start frame 2 because the first one seems to be a bit biggy here. So that's fine. Let's go for frame 2. We know that here we're gonna have a nice way to texture all of these elements, but the trees are gonna be on the top of this house, so that's not very ideal. Here, for the rest of it, it's gonna cover everything. That's fine. We can texture this. It's gonna be nice, except that we're gonna miss this bit. So what we could do eventually is trying to find another position of the camera because we want to texture everything. I'm not going to talk about the trees because on the real case we would replace the trees by proper CG trees probably. So let's consider that we want to texture the house and the gates. I would probably take a frame around here and a frame around here and make sure that we can merge the two of them, and that should work. So just to see how that could work here, I would create a basic material, then I would put this in a scene. I would create a light. I would move the light a bit up, and from there just to have a nice light direction. So put the light a bit more here. Right. So now if I render, that's my camera of animation. If I render this, so I create a scan and render, and I put the camera here, and I look at this, I'm gonna see my render here. So that's something that then I could use to paint on and use for reprojection. So let's, for example, say that I would like to see a reprojection of this on my geometry. If I just duplicate this here and actually I'm gonna create a scene, but I'm not necessarily need one. I put this back on here. I just get rid of the light basically, and what I'm gonna use to texture this is a projection of this render at this frame. So frame 453, I'm gonna use the frame hold. Frame hold is just locking the projection to a specific frame, and I'm going to duplicate this camera here, remove the animation. No animation. No animation. So you get rid of all the animation just to make the camera alive and not connected to the other one. Right, you can change the color of this camera here. So now what I've done here is I'm using the render of this through this light as the projection for this. So if I go back to this frame now, it's exactly the same, of course, but if I move here, I still have the texture of what I've projected on my geometry, and I can start to see the problem that I'm gonna have to face. Here, for example, I will miss some texture. I'm gonna have doubling issues, but that's fine. It's just as an example for now. If I bring this now, that's where I should have my texture on. But it doesn't want to bring, oh sorry, of course I need to do that. So that's it. So let's grade it so you can see the difference. Green. So you can see that now it's not the render of the light that I see here, is actually the render of this frame. So what does this mean? What am I doing here? If I go back to frame 53 here, which is the one I've set up for this projection and this frame hold, that's basically a projection already. So if you had this frame as a render, you could literally just paint on that and reproject it, replacing this by your matte painting here, and you would have a projection onto the geometry here, rendered through the camera of animation that we've done. So basically here, in just a bunch of nodes, we've set up a 3D environment in Nuke, because now this is living as a 3D environment. So that's the very first basics that we can do to explain a few things. An environment in Nuke is most of the time gonna be textured by projection. So to paint the projection, if you have some sort of a 3D layout, I would suggest you to just do this kind of small setup with a light and a basic material, so we can then have a look at how it is here. Then based on that, based on this type of render that you can generate, which is looking like this, you can set up your camera and see from where you want to reproject. Here I took a frame 53 from this camera here, but I could also have picked another camera. Let's take another one here. I'm going to call it like Proj or if I go frame 3 and I'm going to look through from hole, if I do there, so I click here, I'm actually moving the camera. If I go there, I can set up a quite frontal camera, and I could eventually render from this camera now this setup here, which would give me this render instead. Then I can paint on the top of that, and this render is what I'm gonna reproject here on the top of the geometry that I'm gonna still shoot with the camera of my shot. So everything then is about finding the correct position for the cameras, where you want to place them, and of course if you have to use multiple cameras to cover angle A and angle B, how you're gonna blend them together on the top of the each other, so you can then texture everything with multiple projections. So that's another little course that we're gonna record, how to set up the different projection setup that you can use to texture an environment in Nuke. So remember to export an environment from Maya, a layout, the geometry, I use an FBX. For the camera, I use the Alembic selection here. Then in Nuke, when you bring your geometry in the read geo node, make sure that you have all objects ticked, or unless you want to have multiple reads like this, and then let's get rid of these two. For example, for this one, say I just want, oops, here I just want the plane. Let's go there. Here I just want this or this. I just want that, and of course untick the all objects. You're just gonna bring what you want. So eventually, you know, if you want to texture everything but the trees, you could have done like P1 here, P cube 2, then here P cube 3, then here P4, and then for the other house P5. So that's a way to texture just this by doing the same kind of trick. You put everything in the scene, then you will have a nice image just with that. Then on another layer of render, you can texture just the trees or the ground if you want. So you see, that's how you're gonna split your layout into multiple objects in Nuke. And when you're done with that, you just render something with the light at a specific camera. It can be the camera position, a specific position of the camera of the shot, or it can be another camera set up just for the projection, and then you paint on the top of that, and that's why you're gonna reproject at the end of the geometry on the geometry to render again through the shot. Of course, you're gonna project through the camera that matches the render that you use to paint your DMP. And if you need multiple cameras to cover everything, multiple projection, then we're gonna speak about this a bit later and see how we can merge different projection in Nuke. So we're gonna have a class dedicated to projection in Nuke. But that's how you're gonna quickly set up a 3D environment in Nuke. See you guys next time.